So you interviewed an exorcist.
I did. It's an exorcist, Dave. A professional exorcist. I got to put that on there. Yeah, I am doing this professionally. I have a wait list that's like a month out. So it's like crazy the amount of people that apparently have problems that they need an exorcist.
Welcome back to The Global Show. Today's guest is a composer, podcaster, voice actor, and a creative powerhouse who's built careers around both curiosity and courage. He's released 7 EPs, co-founded an audio company, voiced a character named Miss Pumpernickel in a vampire radio serial, and this guy's got more Easter eggs in his background story than the Marvel end credit scene. He now hosts Time We Discuss, a show helping people navigate life's career crossroads. Please welcome to the show the multi-hyphenated force that is Dan Swift. Dan!
The applause comes in, the cheers. Oh, stop, please.
I'm going to put that all in there. You know I will. I'm going to enjoy this.
I can already hear. What do you mean you're going to put it in there? It's already there.
Oh, how are you, Dan?
I am fantastic. If it were a little warmer here, that would be even better. I did, before we started recording, you mentioned it's like 30 degrees Celsius over there, which translates to about 91 here, which I would love. I love the hot. I hate the cold. But I'm great.
I love the promotion. We talked about this. I love the T-shirt. Yeah. Let's talk about Time We Discuss. I love your show. I've been on your show. What made you want to start your show? So you talk about careers.
Yeah. So basically, this all goes back to, and I probably like 23, 22, something like that. My wife was looking to change careers, and she was in higher ed. She was there for 10, 15 years, something like that. And she was just tired of it. She needed something different. And she decided to leave. She resigned, took some time to kind of do some soul searching, find out what she wanted to do, connected with a career coach. And she did one of these career tests, you fill out 150 questions or whatever, and it's supposed to tell you what you're good at. Like we did, we were in secondary ed or whatever. And I'm thinking, she's going to get these results, and this is going to be awesome because at the time it's like 2022, 2023, whatever, and we're going to find all kinds of great things we hadn't even considered. And she gets the results back, and I think like the top one was like pilot. Then it was like military officer, and we're in our 40s. It's like, I think military officer. I think that's that's not going to happen. And then I think like flight attendant was like number 3 or 4 or something like that. And I was so disappointed. I don't know who was more disappointed, me or my wife, because it's like, these are like something right out of the 70s or something, So I decided I was going to look online. There has to be a resource. There's got to be something where you can like put in your interest, you put in your job skills, and it's like, hey, here are jobs that are tailored for you. And I couldn't find anything. And I thought, well, maybe I should create something like this. This is going to be kind of cool. And I thought about it. And Dave, I'm always getting these crazy ideas in my head, and sometimes I act on them, sometimes I don't, and I decided to just like hold off on this and just see what happens. So this is that summer, and I'm thinking about it, and then this one day we're on our deck, and it's like September, October, and we're talking, and I say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about this. What are your thoughts? I'm not sure. And she says, that's a good idea. I think we should do it. I think if you think it's a good idea, I think you should do it. I was like, oh yeah, let me just think about it some more. And I thought about it some more, and then we came across the December holidays and the New Year. And with my day job, I get some time off. And I was like, you know what? I'm thinking about this again. And she says, you know what? You should really do it. If you want to do it, do it. I said, all right, I'm going to do it. So I took that time between essentially Christmas and the New Year and into January a little bit, and kind of like got all my processes in place and started to line things up, website and all that. And before you knew it, I tracked down the first couple of people were friends and family. And then I got some strangers, and then got and it just kind of took off from there. So that's kind of the why. It was all about trying to help people that are trying to start their career and they don't know necessarily what their jobs are really like, and to give them real insight by talking to real people. And then the second part is those that are trying to pivot into a new career, like my wife was doing, trying to take the skills that they've cultivated over the past however long, and parlay those into a new career. So that's kind of how it got started.
Wow. And what does your wife do now?
She works with a nonprofit. She does like development. So she works with donors and she writes grants and that kind of a thing. And she's happy as a clam. She loves it. Helping people, she loves it.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? She found the career that. Well, how did she find it? How did she find the career she wanted?
So, doing some soul searching, she decided she wanted to get into the nonprofit world. And it just so happened that she resigned her higher ed job in like May, and she was unemployed for maybe 3 or 4 months. And then she started working on a temporary basis with a nonprofit. And it was through a friend of a friend, essentially. So she started there as a temp. She was there, I don't know, maybe 6 months. They hired her full time. And then she moved into a different position there, her current position now. And she's been there for like that, maybe 2 years or so, whatever's fixed. I don't remember the years. I don't remember. It was post-COVID. I remember that.
Yeah, there's pre and post COVID, right? Yeah. That's where the world. It's like BC these days. That's where we put the line. So you started this, friends and family. How did you evolve to get more guests? Is the question.
Okay, so probably the biggest turning point, I found this website, podcastguests.com. And I submitted, that I was a podcast. I was relatively new. I think I was like 20 episodes in at the time. And so back up, prior to that, I had a handful of people that they recommended other people. And there was this one, who was it? It was the board game writer. I'm going to be kicking myself later. I cannot remember her name. But she recommended a comedian. And there was an author that recommended the board game writer. So it's kind of like this domino effect. I got the one, then the other, then the other. Then there were a couple other people I openly solicited. There was a magician at our kids' school. So I found him and I reached out to him. He was all about it. So kind of like that. I kind of just solicited people initially. But the ball really started going with that podcastguest.com. And so when I was scheduling people, because this was all new, I'm doing this for the first time. Yeah. I'm like 15, 20 episodes in. And I remember I took my daughter to gymnastics after I had submitted this thing to Podcast Guest, and it was distributed to their distribution list. And I took my daughter to gymnastics. Now I'm like there waiting, and I'm starting to get emails. And I got 20 emails in one night saying that people wanted to be on. I'm thinking like, okay, well, this is my availability. And I go to the second one, like, this is my availability. And I'm like, shoot, this could conflict with the person I just emailed. I need to come up with a better system. So I won't bore you with the details on that, but I ended up getting like, at one point, I think I had like 40 or 50 people in my queue, just like ready to go. I was booked out from, so this was probably maybe March of that year through like the summer or something sick like that. It was crazy. It was crazy.
And how, with that many guests, how are you, are you doing one a week? Are you doing 2 a week?
So originally it was 1 a week. And then once I started getting the influx, I bumped it to 6 a month. And then I did that for maybe a month or 2. And then I jumped to twice a week. And I did that for about 6 months, I think, maybe even longer. Because the idea was I had all these people in my queue and I can't be like, hey, thanks for being on my show. You can hear this in 18 months. I couldn't do that. So I bumped it up. I did it twice a week. And then I decided last December of 24, I said, you know what? I'm going to, these people I have now, I'm going to ride that out. But after that, I'm going back to once a month. And in April of 25, I went back to, once a week, once a month.
I was going to say, Jeff, relax.
That'd be quite a cutback all of a sudden.
The show will come out when I'm ready, guys. We're big now.
So April of 25, I went back to once a week. And that was so much better. It gave me time to just kind of focus on getting more obscure people and kind of getting back to what I really wanted, which was like that. It's about career discovery, career exploration. I spoke to a number of artists. I spoke to a bunch of coaches, which are all great people, all great perspectives, but I want different. That's the whole idea behind it. So I was happy to get back to that.
Is there anyone that you've found who is in their perfect career?
Yes, and I can't tell you who. There were a hand. So when I first started, I was maybe, and I was talking to our friend Aaron Ryan, And
yes.
he was episode 34 of season 1. And I remember talking to him and I said, in the very beginning, up until very recently at that point, I could remember everyone, their conversations. I remembered them, who said what, no problem. But I said to him, I'm starting to get to the point where I'm starting to kind of forget people's names and who did what. And I see the list. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. That was so-and-so. They did this. And then I remember the conversation. But he said, Dave, that's okay. That means you're moving along, you're getting good and that sort of thing. But I do remember there are a handful of people that they said that they have the perfect job, that they are crazy happy doing what they're doing. And maybe 3 to 10 people, somewhere in that small range, said that they are super happy doing what they're doing and they can't imagine doing anything else. But I don't remember who those people are. Sorry.
No. So it's interesting. So I've been reading Steve Bartlett's Happy Sexy Millionaire book, which I'm not plugging unless Steve wants me to. But the book said that he obviously became a multimillionaire, but he wasn't at his happiest when he was a multimillionaire. And most people aren't at their happiest when they get the financial return. They're at their happiest when they find something that's the right level of challenge and commitment for them within whatever area they love. So I was interested, based on me discovering that, if that's what these people have discovered. Like, they may be multimillionaires, but they've found their niche, and that's made them the happiest rather than the big cars or the differential.
I will say what I do remember is that they tended to be in the service industry, for lack of better words. They're helping people do something. And I can't remember the specifics on who it was, but generally that seemed to be the trend. It's like they get fulfillment out of helping other people, and they're just super happy doing that.
Okay. All right. I want to know, so you interviewed an exorcist.
I did. Not just an exorcist, like? Dave, a professional exorcist. I got to put that on there.
So is this the same person that was the magician, or?
No. So the professional exorcist, Laura Van Tyne, was such a great conversation. And I remember, because prior to her, I interviewed an occult researcher. I interviewed ghost hunters. And both of them, it's more of a hobby that if you want to do that, you need to supplement your income in some way. You need to either sell books or offer workshops or something. You can't, generally speaking, make a good living doing either of those things based on their experience. But Laura Van Tyne, I said the same thing. I said, can you tell me? And I don't like to talk about money on my show. I never ask how much do you make? I don't do that. But the one thing I did say to her, I said, can someone make a living doing this? Are you doing this professionally? She said, yeah, I am doing this professionally. I have a wait list that's like a month out. So it's like crazy the amount of people that apparently have problems that they need an exorcist. Feel bad for them, but really, really interesting. And then the magician, he was like a stage magician, and I forget his name off the top of my head, but they were definitely two completely different people.
Did he do any tricks? I haven't seen the episode. I'm going to watch both those episodes, but did the magician do any tricks?
He did it, and my kids said that, and I was like, guys, I can't ask him to do magic. My show isn't about that. And I love magic. I love illusionists. I think it's one of the greatest forms of entertainment, but my show wasn't about that, and I couldn't ask him to do that.
But he does magic. I had a magician on. His name was Neil Flukes. No, Neil something. Jeebus, I've got the same problem as you. I forget. It will come to me. I'm going to put it right here so people can see. But he did a magic trick live on the show. You need to do that.
I'll have to have him back. No, I did try to get an illusionist or a mental magician. I tried to get that, but that kind of fell through the cracks. And this is one of these guys out in Las Vegas. And the guy I spoke to, Joe was his name, Joe Holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Magician, travels internationally, performed all over the world. But this other guy that I spoke to was in Las Vegas, and we were trying to line something up, and it fell through the cracks, and I moved on. And because you probably get, I'm sure you get this too, where it's like you might go back and forth, and then you get delays, you don't get responses right away, you follow up. It's like, you know what? People are busy. If they really want to do it, they'll be here. And if not, that's cool too. I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you're starting out, you're more aggressive to try and get the people, and because you really want them to come on the show. But then as you become, as you get more guests, and there's an influx of guests, you're like, well, if you're busy, I've got someone else who wants that spot, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a nice change. Neil Sawyers, that's his name. So how do you find? So you're doing one episode a week. I'm well aware of the challenges of producing a show. How do you find that? Because it's a lot of work, like on your personal time and everything else, to be able to spend this time interviewing someone. And then for those who don't know the interworkings of what happens, this magically goes off into the computer. And then we spend our whole week editing this and making it resemble something to come up. So it takes a lot of time.
It really does. I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, prior to starting this, I said to myself, it'll take maybe 2-3 hours a week tops. It'll be fine. And I was grossly underestimating the amount of time. And I was speaking to the same guy, months later. And I said, yeah, if I had realized how much time it was going to take, I don't know that I would have gone down this road. I enjoy it, but it is a lot of time. So typically what I do, I tend to have a buffer of episodes. So I like to have 4 weeks already recorded, which gives me a buffer if I need to record something, if I have problems getting someone, if someone cancels because people get sick, kids get sick, jobs get in the way. So if I need to reschedule, I have plenty of room to do that. So I'd like to have at least a 4-week buffer between the episodes that are going out the door and new ones coming in. Sometimes I get more than that, like 50. But I generally like to have a little bit of a buffer. And then typically I do my recordings. I am very fortunate. I work from home twice a week. So I'm able to record people right when my day ends. I have about 2 hours before everyone comes home. So I can quick come here, get everything set up, speak to someone, and then, start to edit maybe or do my social media stuff or whatever. But a lot of that time, Dave, it's that window between when my workday ends and between people coming home. And then Sunday morning is when my episodes drop. They drop at 5:30 and 6 o'clock. 5:30 on Spotify and the audio versions, and then 6 o'clock on YouTube in the morning, and that's Eastern time. And then after they drop, usually sometime in the morning, I do my social media push. I manually update my website. I mean, I have it all in a staging area. It's just a matter of pushing a couple buttons pretty much. Get that all live. But that's Sunday morning. So that's pretty much it. It's twice a week between work and dinner.
Wow.
Every once in a while, I get evening call. And I always say, too, it's if I'm working with someone that is international, like you, I am happy to rearrange my schedule. I have taken off before. I've done that. So I can actually get a person I really want. There was the paranormal investigators. I actually spoke to that guy. It was like a Saturday morning. And I was so excited to speak with him. I actually booked 2 hours with him. I said, can we do like a 2-hour session? And then I edited it down to like, I think 30-40 minutes, something like that. But he was very receptive to that. So, I mean, I will definitely make the time if I have to. I have no problems doing that for people that I really, really want to speak with.
And you've also got a secondary podcast as well, Wandering Monsters. What's that one about?
Yeah, so Wandering Monsters, I really love that. It's 3 guys just talking about weird stuff. And we talk about usually weird stuff. So one of the first episodes, we talked about the Ouija board, and how it actually could work, and the other how it actually could work. And if it were real, what does that mean? And if it's not real, what does that mean? And then we did the next one was Bloody Mary, and the legend behind that. And is it real? And could it be real? And what if it were real? What are the implications of that? And then we have a lot of fun with it. We talk about like, okay, well, let's talk about this. Okay, if Bloody Mary is real, how can we weaponize this? Or how can we make money from this? Because we're Americans here. How can we capitalize on this? So we did the same thing. We talked about the boogeyman. Would you want to work for the boogeyman? How would that work? Do you want to be someone whose their goal is to just come out of the closet and scare people? Would you want to work for someone like that?
Wow.
So we talk about all kinds of weird things. I think the latest one we did, the most recent one that dropped was about hellhounds. So these are like the demon dogs that guard the underworld. And, we've talked about night hags and sleep paralysis and what you can do in dreams and what you can't do in dreams. That was a really fun one, actually. So yeah, it's just a couple guys talking about weird things. And one of the staples with it, too, is that we tend to make comparisons to different things. So we might say, The Mothman episode was a good one. It's like, oh, the Mothman's like about 6 to 10 feet tall. Some people say it has green eyes, some people say it has yellow eyes, some people say it has red eyes. And what I do is I have these illustrations, and kind of like, I don't know if you know the comic The Far Side Gallery. It's like from the 90s, but it's like a very cartoony, humorous, by Gary Larson, hilarious. And so I do these comics in that style. So I'm like, when I say green eyes on the Mothman, it's like a picture appears like the Mothman green eyes. And some people say yellow eyes. I swap the eyes out for yellow and say people are red. So I do a lot of really silly things like that, which I really enjoy. But the editing on that, Dave, is killing me. It's so time consuming, but it's so much fun, and the end product is so much fun. But it's such a time sink. It's such a time sink. I don't know what the future of that is for me, because kind of like when I was doing 2 episodes a week with Time We Discuss. It's just, and we only do this every other week, and it's still just the time needed. I don't know, man. I don't know.
But it's a podcast, so you're doing it as a video podcast as well.
Yeah. Which is different than Time We Discuss. Time We Discuss does video on YouTube, but it's audio everywhere else.
So if you culled the podcast back to a podcast, then surely the time would be literally, I mean, if you guys are comfortable with what you're saying, you can pretty much start and finish and just leave it be, right?
Yeah. I can certainly do that, and that has crossed my mind. So I got to talk to the fellas and see what they think, because it is quite. But I love those cartoons I throw in. They're so much fun. It's
Well, it's funny you should say that, because, and it's funny you should mention Aaron Ryan. So I've been talking a lot to Aaron over Christmas. Another person, I don't know if you know, Brylo Cyrus, he hosts the Author's Lounge. And we started a podcast this week, which we are currently trying to name. And it's about our upcoming previews of things that are coming in 2026. So we started the first episode based on movies that are coming out this year. And we discussed what we thought was going to be good, bad, indifferent. To be honest, we ended up making fun of each other more than anything else. So it was just fun and hilarious. But I said to the guys, if I do this, it is audio only. I'm not doing any editing. Like, it'll start and finish, and I'll just put it straight out to a feed.
Yeah, and I think maybe we might end up doing something like that. Even maybe like every other episode is something like that, or one is like a unedited or raw or something like that, where it just goes and call it a day. But it's fun.
Maybe we could have a crossover. Maybe we could have a crossover podcast.
I love the idea of crossovers. I am down.
You are also a singer-songwriter.
I am, man. I am doing all kinds of stuff. And
I
know.
Wonder
why I don't have any time.
Yeah, my children haven't seen me in years, but I'm going.
Oh, shoot. I forgot I have kids.
What are you singing?
Oh, Dave, all kinds of stuff. So a lot of it is, when I first started, I wanted to do, first, I love EPs. The idea of an EP, it fits my lifestyle. They're short, 4 or 5 songs, move on to the next one. So I've been doing that since I started, and I wanted to do a different genre with every album. That was the original goal. So the first one I did was all classical, and it actually was not an EP. It was actually a dual, double length CD, very long, lots of music there. So I moved from there, and then I went to electronic, and it was more of like an electronic classical. So it's written in a classical way, but it was all like synths, like electronic sounding, and very gritty and just a great sound. But that was in fact. That in fact was an EP, and that was Trophies from Sheol. And I actually skipped Influences of Six was prior to that. That was like a 90s alt rock kind of album, which I tend to go back to later. But I've also done a chiptune album. The new one I'm coming out with this year, I haven't decided on what the genre is going to be. It's already written. The lyrics are done. I'm in the process of recording, but I haven't orchestrated it yet, so I don't know what it's going to be. It might be electronic. It might be a little bit of everything. It might be a mixed genre album, which I've done a couple of those. I'm writing all kinds of stuff. There's a little something for everyone.
So you said it was classical, the first one, right? Mm-hmm. So are you playing music, or is there any singing on the classical?
It is not. It is not. So it's a lot of it was very what so when I went to school for music composition and music recording. I was a double
Yeah.
major. And
Right.
so a lot of this stuff is admittedly projects I worked on when I was in school. So I have like, there is a live orchestral piece that I wrote, a live performance of that, which is really cool. There's a synth piece that I did written with Moog synthesizers. So it's kind of a collection of those, which is pretty cool. I have a saxophone, saxophone quartet. I have a brass trio, a violin duo, a couple of piano solo pieces. So it's that kind of a thing. No vocals required.
Wow. But the later ones have vocals on?
Yeah, they do. Yep.
Yeah. Nice. Is it just you, or do you have others that help and like collaborate?
No, it's all me, which is why it also takes so long to get out. I mean, so this album will come out in 26, hopefully. Parallels came out in 24. Prior to that, Front Row Seat to a Second Life came out in 23. But before that, it was 2016. It was like, what, 8 years prior to that, or whatever the math works out to be? I don't know. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Are you doing all the art cover for these as well yourself?
Yeah. So typically what I've done in the past is I would take some kind of like an artistic shot of something, like for What Is, Was, Could Be. That's a 90s alt rock album. And I was in Ocean City, Maryland on the boardwalk. And it was crazy overcast. And they had this like Ferris wheel. And the way the sun was shining through the clouds, I was like, let's make a really good photo. So I snapped a photo of it and looked at it later. And I was like, that's the one. That's going to be the cover. Just because,
Wow.
no real reason. It has nothing to do what is, was, could be. I mean, it's, Ferris wheel, or read into it as you may with the Ferris wheel. Like, I don't know. But then after that was a Front Row Seat to a Second Life. And that was the first image I used AI to do. So it's this idea of like, there's a chair there and it's kind of like there are these other chairs surrounding it, And the idea behind that album was like, think about what your life could be, and you get a front row seat to whatever that second life of yours could have been. So it's all about different things about that. It's kind of cool. So.
Wow. I'm gonna put them all here. I told you I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put them all here. All of your album covers are gonna go around here so people can see them.
They're gonna be plastic.
And we'll put the link right there. You mentioned AI there. I was curious about that. So either with your podcast, either with your show, or either with your music, are you using AI a lot now? Is that changing how you're developing things?
Yeah, I couldn't do what I do now without AI, honestly. It would take me a lot longer. It would cost a lot more money because I have to hire people probably. My music is still all me. I don't use any AI for that. But the Far Side Gallery type cartoons I create, that is all AI. Because that's super easy, where it's like, change the green eyes to yellow eyes. And 95 times out of 100, it works. And the other 5, it's like, no, that's not what I said. Do it again. That didn't work either. Try again. But I am using AI for that. The album cover, I am still using AI for that. With the podcast, I'm using AI for my transcripts. But I will go back for Time We Discuss, and I will actually go through those, listen and modify as needed. Wandering Monsters, I won't. It's just too much of a time sink already. Whatever the automated transcript comes up as, that's what it is. And I have a little disclaimer saying, AI generated, they may contain errors, but for Time We Discuss, I try to give it a little more white glove service.
Do you use it for your research as well, and like set up agents when you have guests on to be able to delve into their life and
No. So with Time We Discuss, I like to go in fresh. I try to research as little as possible, because the idea behind it, it's like, and honestly, sometimes you get these rare glimpses of how little I know about something, and that's fun. That is so fun. But I try not to research, because I try to take the approach. It's like, if someone else is coming in and they don't know what it is, I want to try to be able to get them to kind of get a glimpse of that as well. Now, I did make one error with that, and someone actually told me this. My wife, I will admit it was her. When I had the occult researcher on, she didn't know what an occult researcher was at all. And she's like, what is that? And I was like, oh, well, that's, and I kind of started to explain it. She was like, oh, I had no idea. And here I am thinking, I'm into the weird stuff. So I'm like, occult, everyone knows what that is, But the oyster farmer, when I interviewed her, I had no idea what was involved in that. When we first started the conversation, I said to her, okay, what's a typical day like as an oyster farmer? And she rattles through in about 30 seconds. And I'm just there like, what? And she's like, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Let me start over. And that's where I really started the actual video. But every once in a while I get those where it's like, I have no clue. And it's so much fun. I absolutely love those. It's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah. So no research. None.
what about your job? So you spend so much time talking about everyone and their job and working out what they want. You're in IT for your day job, I believe.
Yes.
So
kind of.
Is that the
kind of? So I work. I lead a team of web professionals. So I have a couple of web developers, a couple of web designers, and actually for the very first episode, I talked about what it was like being a web developer. So I kind of did throw that in time we discussed as episode 1. But that's what I do during the day. Accessibility is very important to me, especially when it comes to the web. That's also something that we need to be cognizant of in my day job. So I make sure that we're trying to following the current standards, the WCAG 2.1 AA standards, what we have to follow. So I try to make sure we're doing that. It's like whack-a-mole because we have a bunch of, we call them content contributors. We have about 300 of those that contribute the content to the pages. So I got to make sure that as we knock a few moles down, a couple more don't pop up, and invariably they do. But that's my day. I lead a team of web professionals to create an awesome, fully accessible, and fully mobile and usable site. That's what we do. We are just awesome people, and I give all the credit to them. Really, I just make sure they're, it turns out the way it's supposed to, but I give all the credit to them. They do a great job.
But is that just paying the bills? Like if Time We Discuss and the Wandering Monsters podcast suddenly got some finances behind them, would you drop that like a hot potato?
Not like a hot potato, no. I would seriously consider changing things up a bit because especially Wandering Monsters is such a time sink. But I am thinking about, because I could always use more money, so I am trying to think about how I can monetize, especially Time We Discuss. I do have a couple ideas. It's just a matter of like taking that step and doing it. But yeah. I do have several ideas, a couple avenues I want to explore. I've been, like I said before about starting the podcast. I've been thinking about this for months, and I'm thinking, do I want to go down this road and try to monetize it? And it's just a matter of, I'm in my head. It's like, what if I try it? It doesn't work. What if I tried? Everyone says no. It's like, okay, just do it, Dan. Just do it. But that's where I am right now. That's where I am in my head.
You've honestly, again, going back to some of the books I've read, you've got to get past that person in your head and caring about what other people think, because at the end of the day, no, they don't mean anything to what you do or influence. And if you're a success, they'll think something totally different and be like, oh, I wish I'd have done that. So you just got to follow your dreams.
Yeah, Dave, that is so true, because back when I was always very shy about marketing myself. So even before I started doing any of this, I was a freelance web developer, freelance web designer. And I never really put myself out there. I did very little advertising. It was all word of mouth, because I had that issue where it was like, what if they don't like me? Or what if, my work isn't good enough? And it wasn't until A Front Row Seat to a Second Life came out that I really pushed that hard. It's like, no, this is my music. This is what I'm doing. And, if people like it, awesome. And if they don't like it, that's okay too. Because at this point, it's like, I'm in my 40s. I'm too old to worry about, like, are they going to like me or not? What if they don't like it? No. So, and that was a big turning point. And same thing with, from there, I jumped into the podcast world. And it's like, I was telling everyone, and I got to the point, I'd be at parties and stuff. And I would bring up the podcast. They're like, oh, well, what's new with you? And I'm like, oh, well, actually, I have this podcast. And I don't know if my wife actually thought this, but I could envision, like, is she rolling her eyes and walking away? Like, as oh, here he goes again. But I joke, my wife has been super supportive about everything. I mean, like I said, all this stuff takes so much time, and she's been like so supportive, and I couldn't be more grateful.
Does she watch the show?
She does.
Oh, wow.
And she gives me great feedback. And it's so funny because, so when you're a creative, you are so in it. You're so looking at it from the creative perspective. You're not looking at it from everyone else's perspective. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. And she said to me today, actually, she said, Dan, why is it on Spotify your episodes have one name and on YouTube they have another name? It's kind of confusing. And in my head, it's like, well, they're going to be different names because YouTube is because you gotta be sensational. You gotta like, oh, become a web developer now, 0 steps, no degree.
Yeah.
Like you have to do that to get people to draw them. By the way, mine aren't that sensationalized. They're very real. I don't do clickbait, but they are. The excitement level is just up a little bit. Instead of
Yeah.
being at 7, it's at 9.
Yeah.
But in my head, podcast is a little more real. So my titles are a little more real with Spotify, with Apple Podcasts. But I said to her, I was like, well, maybe if you're thinking this, other people might be thinking this too. Maybe I should have more of a cohesiveness between the titles between the different platforms. So I will get some great feedback from her. We talked about different playlists that I've created for YouTube. We talked about that. Just really, real. In fact, here's another really good one, Dave. I was in the fall. I was in a bit of a slump for getting guests. For whatever reason, all these people, I was reaching out to them and I wasn't getting anything. And I'd reach out to maybe like 5 people a week, 10 people a week, nothing. The next week, 5 more people, 10 people, nothing. And I'm watching this buffer start to come down. I'm like, shoot, I need to figure out something. And I ended up doing 5 jobs for this, 5 jobs for that, just to kind of build in a little more time. And she said to me, she's like, Dan, why don't you reach out to people that have already been on your show and ask them if they can recommend anyone? I said, that's a good idea. I've done that after people once their episode is about a week or 2 out, I send an email saying like, hey, thank you. Here's the links for everything. If you ever want to share it, please do. By the way, if you can recommend someone, I would be happy. I will do the legwork. Just connect me. I'll do the legwork. And I don't really get any advice for that. And that's fine. That's cool. But she said, why don't you do that? And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I cherry picked about maybe 30 people or 40 people. And I reached out to them and I got some great responses back. So my buffer is up again. I have about 5 or 6 people already recorded. I have 3 of them already edited. So I have 3 weeks of edits already done. I have about 5 that are ready to go. And then I have about maybe half a dozen more people that I have yet to record. And then I have another group that I've yet to reach out to. Actually it was Tara. I forget her last name, but she was a event planner. Super awesome person. Conversation was awesome. Very friendly. Had the opportunity to meet her in real life. That was really cool. Also met in real life the caricature artist. That was great.
Wow.
But Tara said, I know a lot of people that do interesting things. So if you want, I can connect you. So I said, Tara, I would love that. As soon as this buffer goes down, I'm coming back to you. So she's next on my list.
Well, you can hit me up too, buddy. I've got a heap of people that I've interviewed over the past year that, some of them will blow your mind as to where they've gone to in their careers. So absolutely. I can help with your buffer stock as well.
That is awesome. I love that. I actually referenced one of your guests in a recent recording. I forget. Oh, it was, I was speaking to a family attorney and her episode actually drops, I think it drops on the 15th, I think. And she was talking about attorneys and how mentally challenging it can be because you deal with a lot of horrific things, a lot of horrific people. And unfortunately, substance abuse, specifically alcohol, is very common in that industry. And she said, it's not uncommon for people to see therapists to kind of, work through these issues. And I forget the woman's name, but the one, she was an actress. I think she was an actress, but talked about the therapists that they have on set to talk to people and
yes,
and help them work through different things. In fact, maybe she was a therapist, maybe she was an actress. You know who I'm talking about. You put her card up there.
I knew you'd do. I will put her card up there. And I messaged her recently. She is an on-site therapist. She also has an award-winning podcast as well. Man. Yeah, had to do that to me. I'm not gonna get a device out. I will put her name up there, and I'm so sorry that I've forgotten it. But yes, phenomenal person.
Yeah, that was a great conversation. I appreciated that one. It's so cool. You mentioned so many good people. So it's
I just been lucky. I don't know why. Do you subscribe to the shorts? I know you've got long form, but do you do the shorts as well to get your show out there? How do you publicize it?
Yeah, Dave. I hate shorts and I hate all the social media stuff. I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, everyone. I'm not gonna lie. It's just so laborious. And it's not my thing. I've never really been into the whole social media thing. But that being said, I do use Opus Pro, Opus Clips. I think the website is Opus Pro. I think the website is actually called Opus Clips. But I use that. I throw in the long form, and then it'll spit out maybe like 24 short form videos. And I go through them, and I usually take about, for Time We Discuss, I take about 2 that I think work pretty well, that are highly ranked. And I'll release them during the week. So my episode drops on Sunday. The shorts I'll usually do like Tuesday, Thursday. If there are 3 really good ones, I might do like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. But that's about it for that. For the Wandering Monsters podcast, I do the exact same thing. But those I try to do more of because it comes out every 2 weeks. So I try to do maybe 7 to 10 if I can. And what I found is that for the Wandering Monsters podcast, people love the shorts, generally speaking. You know, the views are very high, but the long form, it just does not translate. And then for Time We Discuss, sometimes it does translate. Generally, they're higher than my long form views. But it's all about just trying to get it out there a little bit. And if it's translated, if people go from the shorts to the longs, cool. If not, that's cool too. If they find a cool clip and they share it, that's cool. If they skip it, whatever, you know. But that's kind of my attitude. I do it, and whatever happens, happens.
It's where the market is. Everyone comes back to shorts. They love the shorts. So
so another one of your guests, I forget this person's name too, but she was all about the vertical videos, and this came out a couple weeks ago. And
Dana, yes.
I just saw Disney Plus is going to start having vertical videos. I don't know when, but I saw a headline.
Really?
Yep.
People said, someone said, so I did a double interview today. I had one before you, and he's worked for Disney and Fox, and he said, do I do vertical for my show? And I said, well, for the shorts, yeah. But he was meaning for this. And I was like, I don't know if I could do that.
I don't know. For me, it's like, I like the wide, and maybe I'm old school. I'm used to it, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. I think what you need to do, Dan, is when you go back to your lounge and you're upstairs or wherever it is, I want you to turn your TV vertically and watch it like that for a week and see if you enjoy it. I just
tiny screen that'll be in there.
Why is your TV like that? Verticals.
So this will be the next trend. Watch this. You know how you have like your dual monitor setup? You'll have a dual TV setup. One will be, you know, landscape, the other will be portrait.
It's just a big L on the wall. What are we watching? You voice acted in Vampire Radio serial as Miss Pumpernickel. Can I hear Miss Pumpernickel's voice, please?
You can't. I can't do it anymore. I can't go that high anymore.
Oh,
yeah, I'm sorry. I would love to be able to do that, but I can't. I can get you a clip of it that you can play. We could do that. We just like silence here, just maybe just that freeze frame, and then put the clip over top of it. We can do that.
Do you remember one of the lines?
No. I'm sure I could. If I thought about it long enough, I could remember it. But
I was going to say, you could say the line and then I could put it over the top.
It was like over 20 years ago. It was it was something. But the premise is fun. It was like a nine episode radio serial, and it was each episode was maybe like 3 to 5 minutes, super short. You know, it was just a bunch of fun. And the premise is you have Count Dracula is getting audited by the IRS. So you know you have this. I don't think it's the same. The accountant. What's the name? It doesn't matter. The accountant shows up at the castle, and we do like the Folly sound effects and everything like that. And he's talking to the accountant, or the accountant's talking to Dracula, and he ends up getting killed. And then an inspector shows up, and then Miss Pumpernickel shows up at one point, and they're trying to find out who killed Stanley. Stanley, that's it. Stanley the accountant. And the inspector keeps saying it's a werewolf, and or no, one of the guys keeps saying it's a werewolf, and then the inspector's like, no, it's not a werewolf, it's a vampire, and they're like, no, it's a werewolf, and they're getting all super funny, ridiculous. But at one point, Miss Pumpernickel, she's like, this is a zombie, eek, and but it's in like a very high register.
Oh,
it was fun. We had a lot of fun doing it. It was like 9 episodes. I think all said and done, it's maybe like 20, 30 minutes. We did a fun trailer for it as well. If you go to danswift.com, you can find it there. I think you can find the sound effects as well. The actual episodes, I think, are there.
You are a legend. What's coming up in the future for you, my friend? What can we look forward to?
Everything. The next sunrise. No. One of my previous bosses, she was like, Dan, you're so happy. You're one of the nicest people I ever met. You're so happy. And then we hired this other guy, and she's like, Dan, this guy makes you look incredibly sad and miserable.
No.
But coming up, let's see, we have more great people coming up on Time We Discuss. I have an Oracle card reader coming up. I already talked about the attorney. I have a woman that stages houses. That's her job. So if you're selling your home and you need it furnished to be staged so you can sell it, she does that. At least I think that's what she does. I haven't actually spoken to her yet, so I think that's what it is. So a lot of really cool people for Time We Discuss. Wandering Monsters podcast. Again, we're just being silly. We're looking forward to talk about weird things. There's an episode on Loch Ness that's coming out where we talk about time slips. That's coming out later. All kinds of really, really fun things. I have a new EP coming out. Again, I don't know what the genre is going to be, but if history is going to repeat itself, it'll probably be like a 90s art rock slash mixed genre album. I'm hoping to get that out in 26. I do have a title for it. It is called Partly Diminished, Almost Forgotten, and it features the 4 songs in no particular order: Undiscovered, Steal My Name, Umbrella, and I Wanna Live. So that's coming out in the next year for this guy.
I love it. Celine Beth Olson. That was the name of the person who does the therapy support on set. It clicked in my... Honestly, I do this all day. It just bounces in there. Now, when I said we'll come to that, I'll make you a challenge, Dan.
Okay.
If you want to do a crossover, we could do at some point this year, in no particular order, I will host your show and you can host my show. We will pick the guest and but sadly for you, it means a bit more work than me because you'd have to do the monologue at the start as well, which I can write for you or you could do yourself. Totally up to you if you're up for it.
That sounds fantastic. So I've never done one of those before. Do you typically tell the guests ahead of time that, hey, this is a crossover episode, or no, they have no idea?
I've never done it. This is the first time. I just thought of it. We were talking and you said you love crossovers with the podcast. And I was like, man, we could cross over the show. So I can wear your t-shirt.
I'll send you one. That sounds great.
Yeah, let's make that happen at some point this year. Let's do a crossover with the podcast once we've got ours going, and then I'd love to see how that would turn out. That would be hilarious fun.
So much research. It seems like you do so much research for your guests. I'm gonna have a lot to do.
I can help. I'll make it easy for you. But it'll just be interesting to see someone else do it. So.
Well, now the fear is, what if you host my show so much better than me? And all of a sudden you're going to have another podcast that you're going to have to do.
Couldn't happen, Dan. Your show is too good. You've got nothing to fear or worry about there. You are in safe hands. Dan, where would you like your details? I can either put them up, down, left, right across the middle, anywhere you want. Where would you want all your details where people can find you, your website, your music?
Oh, man, what do people usually say?
It depends. Depends on the people. Some people say put it across your face, Dave. Some people just say they want it down below. Yeah. Some people want it up above. No one ever has it down the sides.
The sides.
Both sides.
Yeah.
Done. Love it.
I'll be like, I don't like how that looks. I shouldn't have said that. Too late.
It's too late now.
Half the web address will be cut off, you know.
People have to read it going downwards. Dan, it is such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely, Dave. The pleasure is all on this side of the microphone.
Love it. We're going to be back right after these commercial messages. This week's episode is sponsored by Cine by Kyle. Retro film tees, Ghostbusters, Back to the Future. Basically, if your personality peaks somewhere around VHS, you're going to love this. Use code SAVEDB and it gets you 20% off. But use it wisely. Here's a quick video to show you what it's all about.
is not to be tested. I'm next, I've been in the gym every day and I bench way too much weight to be getting offended. A whole lot of rage in the way that I step. I've been at war with the monsters inside of my head, and I keep coming out with the win. They gon' get me back on the field again.